If I were to show you a photo like this, how does it make you feel? Creeped out? Filled with dread? Or maybe just a little on edge? One thing is for certain. Photos like these are inherently nerve-wracking. The reason to why these images scare us can be contributed to a few things. Nyctophobia, or the fear of the dark. Scopophobia, the fear of being watched. Or the phobia that today's video essay will be centered around. Xenophobia, and the fear of the unknown. Before we dive into the rabbit hole, let's explain what xenophobia is. Xenophobia is a constant fear of things uncertain or unpredictable, ranging from situations to events. Victims of xenophobia experience these strong feelings when faced with a lack of information. The uncertainty of if you saw something in the corner of your eye, exploring an abandoned school. The lack of knowledge of if you're going the same direction as your friends in a cave. The ambiguity on if the thing in the woods was actually there. The fear of the unknown can tie into a lot of other similar phobias, which is why it's hard to differentiate the exact phobia, but most commonly cited with xenophobia would be nyctophobia, due to the darkness making things so much more difficult to distinguish, leaving us to our thoughts and imagination to fill in the blanks to what could be looking directly at us from the dark. Darkness manages to intensify xenophobia quite severely. The sight of the black of nothing renders our ability to make out the size, shapes and surroundings of a room or creature inoperable. The fear of the unknown is a natural response, humanly. However, if you wish to amplify the feelings of dread caused, then introduce sound. The fear of the unknown. Digitalized terror. Recently I played a horror game which gave me the whole idea to make this video in the first place. A short horror game called Don't Scream. So let's talk about it. Don't Scream is an atmospheric horror game that thrives on the fear of the unknown through the use of sound and imagery. From the moment you step into its dimly lit world, the game shrouds you in an unsettling atmosphere where every corner conceals potential scares. The unknown isn't just a mechanic, it's a pervasive presence, lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce when least expected. The narrative in Don't Scream unfolds like a dark tapestry, woven with threads of mystery and dread. Players find themselves entangled in a web of enigmatic events, with each revelation bringing new layers of horror. The narrative becomes a catalyst for the fear, as players are driven by the relentless quest to uncover the truth behind the nightmarish events that unfold within. The game's developers show a masterful command of atmospheric design and soundscapes. The haunting melodies and ambient noises create an immersive experience, heightening the sense of unease. Every footstep, every creaking floorboard resonates with the fear of the unknown, amplifying the player's vulnerability in the eerie environment. Don't Scream's interactive nature intensifies the fear of the unknown. Players aren't passive observers, they are active participants, navigating a hostile environment. Every decision, every movement becomes a potential trigger for terror, making the unknown an ever-present adversary that reacts to the player's actions, creating a dynamic and personalized horror experience. Don't Scream embraces minimalistic design to deliver maximum impact, with sparse environments and subtle cues. The game invites players to fill the void with their own fears and imagination. This minimalist approach becomes a canvas for personal horror, where the unknown isn't dictated by the game but is uniquely shaped by the player's perception. And that's what makes this game, in particular, so inherently terrifying.
The fear of the unknown. Structures lost to time. Abandoned structures possess an undeniable allure. Decaying facades and forgotten interiors beckon explorers with an irresistible pull, creating an atmosphere thick with mystery and untold stories. Stepping into abandoned structures is like entering uncharted territories, where every creaking floorboard and peeling wallpaper tells a story. The fear of the unknown becomes apparent, heightening the senses as explorers navigate the remnants of lives once lived. The atmosphere within abandoned structures is a delicate dance between the visual and auditory elements. The play of light through broken windows, the distant sounds of wind, and the eerie silence amplify the sense of foreboding, making each exploration a truly immersive experience. Abandoned structures harbor silent narratives, untold stories that linger in the air. Every discarded possession, every crack in the wall becomes a canvas for the imagination. The fear of the unknown stems from the gaps left behind, inviting explorers to fill in the details with their own interpretations. Confronting xenophobia within abandoned structures is a personal journey. It involves embracing discomfort, navigating through the shadows, and finding courage in the exploration of these forgotten worlds. Each step is an act of defiance against the fear that lurks within the decaying remnants, and it leaves you with just the environment, its sounds, and your mind to fill in the blanks with the backstory of why things were left as they were. And that's both the unfortunate and scary truth that we will just sometimes never know.
The fear of the unknown. Depths below the surface. Caves. The mysterious underbelly of the earth cast shadows upon one's psyche. The very notions of descending into the abyss triggers a visceral response, as the fear of what lies within the unexplored darkness becomes a tangible force. The unknown in caves is not just a void, it's an environment that demands respect and humility. The act of navigating through caves transcends physical challenges. It's a journey into the recesses of the human mind. Tight passages, echoing chambers, and the constant sense of confinement. Every twist and every turn become a potential revelation or a lurking terror. In the subterranean depths, silence echoes louder than any sound. The symphony of silence within caves intensifies the fear. Every footstep, every breath, becomes a reverberation that heightens the senses. The absence of familiar sounds magnifies the unknown, making each moment a silent confrontation with unseen horrors. The interplay of light and shadow within caves creates an ever-shifting landscape of fear. As light sources cast distorted shadows on the cave walls, the unknown begins to take on strange forms. The mind plays tricks in the face of shadows, conjuring phantoms and mysteries in one's mind. Claustrophobia intertwines with the fear of the unknown in the tight passages of a cave. The feeling of being surrounded by rock, the squeezes of tight spaces triggers primal instincts. The unknown in caves becomes an intimately claustrophobic experience, testing the explorer's resilience in the face of confinement. The darkness within caves conceals more than physical obstacles. It harbours the fear of the unseen. The mind conjures creatures and scenarios that may or may not even exist, The unknown becomes a canvas for the imagination, painting horrors that lurk just beyond the reach of light, the light that only your flashlight can provide. Feared by majority, nyctophobia and scopophobia. I want to really quickly talk about nycto and scopophobia. These two innate fears intertwine, and when combined with each other in one sole encounter, can really drive people to the edge of panic. Nyctophobia, as you know by now, the fear of the dark, a fear that most people tend to grow out of as they age. Granted, the dark never stops being scary. It still can make you a little on edge or anxious, even when you know you're safe. But that's a result of human instinct. We do all of our daily activities in the daylight and relax during the nighttime. When humans lived in caves thousands of years ago, predators of the wild would hunt us just as we would hunt them. So by knowing that predators come out at night, early humans developed the instinct to not go out at night, and this may be the reason why we inherently fear it. But in modern day, due to the internet, vast amounts of creepy and unnerving stories are everywhere, so it never gets easier. Scopophobia, as we mentioned also in the beginning, is the fear of being watched. Whether it's just someone watching you normally as everyday life would be, or some form of eldritch entity hiding amongst the shadows. It's still scary to be watched by someone or something. We humans tend to like privacy in certain ways, in our hobbies, our private information, or whilst we sleep. Imagine waking up to a cold chill in your spine, sitting up to see a pair of eyes off in the darkness as your bedroom door is left open, even though you're 100% sure you locked it, and its eyes glaring at you, wide. Nyctophobia and the dark can amplify this fear because in the dark, you can never grasp the true scale of what you are actually looking at, and what it actually looks like. Feelings of dread immediately settle into you as your blood runs cold and your hairs stand on end. These two fears tie into everything we've mentioned prior, the buildings, caves and games, which is why it's so universal as a fear. It's a fear shared by many for the right reasons, and hopefully it's all just in your head, and there isn't something watching you from the closet at night. Horror games, caving, abandoned buildings, each hiding unseen forces that tear down our mental states, crippling our natural instincts of survival, removal of our thoughtful decision making when under extreme panic. These are just three of the many ways that the unknown can be portrayed through, but it is far from all of them. Whilst I may not have talked about every genre and the way it can be perceived, because if I did that I would be here for the rest of eternity. The portrayal of xenophobia, whether a real life experience, an analog horror, a movie such as The Blair Witch Project, and even more I haven't yet mentioned, always stays the same, in that being a terrifying vessel of thought that can grip hold of our senses and bury them without a shred of remorse. And that is everything I have to speak about with you for now. But before I go, I want to reference a quote by one of the founders of literary eldritch and unknowable horror, H.P. Lovecraft. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown.